feel like Kobe, I'm like Jokic with the rock. You physically couldn't hold me, I don't care if you pushing 40. You can never little bro me. Euro step like Ginobili, from young OG to the OG. From nosebleeds to floor seats. Circle stronger than Cuban links. My gold dance, your gold plated. You verse me, now that's the reach. We ready. Who ready?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the One-on-One Sports Show on the BMU Network. I'm Mr. Bennett, followed by my partner, as always, Coach Berg in the building, and our special guest for this evening to talk about the Oakland sports scene later in the show, our man Tommy B. As always, it's good to see you, my brother. How are you?
What's going on, y'all?
Man, it's good to see you, man. It's good to see you, man. So again, hopefully the boys from Texas, as usual, when their Cowboys or Texans are losing, it's typical. They find a way to exit the show. But shout out to my man Dante and Shawnee. Hopefully he'll be up here shortly as we chop it up this week in the world of sports. Coach Berg, how you doing, sir? How the little guys doing? How's your sports team doing, man? What's going on?
I'm okay, man. You know, I have to digress from the game. We had a championship game last Thursday, man. Let me tell you something, man. I've never been a part of the worst coaching group ever. They had those kids so nervous and tight. That's all they kept talking about. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. Then They change up everything that we did all season. They got to making changes on the bus ride to the game. The kids even asked, Coach, is it okay if I'm nervous? Yes, son. It's part of football. You should have butterflies. They were so quiet, man. We played tight. We ended up even taking the lead 6-0 late in the game. That's all they kept saying is y'all scared, y'all scared, y'all scared. And it just took away the confidence, man. I was just so disappointed, man. I'll never be a part of a coaching team like that again, ever. But salute to the players, man. They won 7 in a row, man. So it'll take a lot for that.
I hear you. I'm sure you gained some valuable experience, and I got a feeling, obviously, this is not going to be your last destination. I'm sure there's going to be a spot that opens up that's going to be better, but you always take, you always take victories with you regardless of where you're at. So, but again, good to have you guys on here again this evening. As you see, our Cash App scrolling at the bottom of the screen. So if you be so kind, certainly to support us, we'd appreciate anything that you offer us. But more importantly than that, certainly drop a super chat or a Cash App certainly to the BMU Network. BMU Network gives you content 7 days a week, and so I'm sure you'll find a program to your liking. But again, support the platform so we can continue to bring you this kind of content. But as you come into to the show tonight, just make sure you hit the like button. Helps the algorithm, helps us. And, as we try to grow this network. But before we get into, obviously, we're in the thick of the one quarter NFL season's already taken place already. Want to go back to some college football. We didn't get a chance because there was so much going on with the NFL last week. I want to go back over, obviously, the biggest game of the college football last week, Georgia and Alabama. Alabama took it to them early and just had those guys at the ropes. Georgia came back, and then you had that play at the end of the game, the catch, the juke, the moves for the TD. So again, once again, Georgia seems like they're coasting just like last year, but they have the upset loss at the wrong time. But here we have in the post-Saban era, we have Alabama once again at number 1. So again, I don't know if guys had a chance to see the game. What are your thoughts on the game and just where Alabama is? And it just seems like the tide just keeps It just keeps rolling. Saban or no Saban, them boys are looking like they never left. So Tommy, I'll open up to you first. What were your thoughts on the game and where we at in the season so far? That was nasty.
It was a hell of a game. I ain't gonna lie to you. By halftime, we was looking for something else to watch.
Exactly. I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked.
Peek back to kind of see I think one of my friends had posted the comeback, and he's a Georgia fan, so I just kind of went to go laugh at him, and I'm like, oh, no, they coming back. Oh, and then, so I got to watch the last, man. It was a hell of a game. I actually think they lost at the right time in the season, man. You want to lose early, by the end of the season. I'm not gonna say we're gonna forget about it, but it won't be as impactful as if this was towards the end of the season. So, and with the new playoff format, you can afford to lose a game or two now.
Right. Because I think it's this year they're opening up to 8 teams. I think is this year?
12.
12. Okay. Yeah. I knew there was.
So with Georgia's pedigree, as long as they ain't sitting on, crazy 3 losses, they'll be in there anyway, and they'll be able to kind of get their get back. But people tend to forget Alabama still got Jalen Milroe back there. They lost Saban, but Milroe's still back there. So, and they still got a team. But I got to give my hats off to Georgia, man, because they could have easily just tucked their tail and just went home, and they fought and they came back, and that was a hell of a play. But I think, oh boy, ain't that the 17-year-old freshman that caught that? Bro been killing, man. It's like when they said he was 17, man, I'm like, this is sick. This boy is sick. So I think we might be watching another phenom on the way with him. But no, it was definitely a hell of a game. Like I said, I think if they were going to lose, I think that's the right time to lose. And I'm just looking forward to the rest of the season.
Gotcha. Coach, not sure you had a chance to see the game. What were your thoughts on the game, especially the ending? Again, incredible, comeback by the Bulldogs. And, hey, I mean, it's like Alabama. Like I said, I don't know how much of that is Saban, his legacy still. But, them guys, kudos to them that they're right back at number 1 again. So what do you think about Alabama so far this year?
I mean, I agree with Tommy as far as Georgia lost at the right time, but I also believe that it's who you lose to. That you losing to Alabama, a number 4 seed, ain't as bad as you losing to Appalachian State. So losing early is good for Georgia, but I think it puts them in the hot seat going forward because now they can be beat. But here's what people forget about Alabama. Every year for the last 15, I'll say 20 years, 25 years, Alabama is getting the top 300 players only. Mm-hmm. You might not get to play until your senior year, and you were number 1 coming out of high school. So they're going to continue to restock. So, Alabama, they go, even next year, they're going to have some top 300 players coming, and the players that's been there and sat on the bench this year, they're going to be ready to take over. So it's just, you wait your turn at Alabama. So I think Alabama's still going to be vulnerable at some point during the season. They just have to be on their A game for the rest of the season.
Right. Awesome. Want to move on a little bit to didn't get a chance to talk about certainly the game I wanted to talk about a couple of weeks ago, but Colorado Baylor. Again, very exciting matchup. Went to overtime. The Hail Mary catch at the end of regulation, and then going into overtime, they were able to turn it around. And then last week had a very impressive win against UCF, 48-21. So is this now? We came into the season, all of it, myself included. I said Colorado 4 wins, maybe 5 at the most, and it looks like they either found something. Still got some problems, protecting Shedeur. They've had some injuries on offense and defense, but this is the last couple of weeks. It just seems like this is one of those tide turning type of things. Like, couldn't this team make an impact? Now, I'm not saying top 12 get into the national championship picture or whatever, but we could be looking at an 8 or 9 win team, major bowl. And everybody was talking about at the end of the year, Prime may want to bounce, once his boys graduate. But are you buying or selling on Colorado? Could they be an impactful team this year? Because I'm looking at the rest of their record. They only got 2 more ranked teams. They got next week, this Saturday. They got a bye week. So the 12th, they got 20th ranked Kansas State. And then later in November, they got 18th ranked Utah. But this schedule is not that intimidating. I think they could essentially be in every game. So, could this be, a breakout year for Colorado? Could they make some noise? And what do you think that this could do as far as Prime's prospects for staying beyond this season? Because I think a lot of people were saying once his guys go, either he gets picked up by a bigger team, which certainly still may happen. But it just seems like a switch went. Like, that game was pretty monumental. They went back to 1990 with Cordell Stewart throwing a Hail Mary pass in the game, and it seemed like history repeating itself. So I was pretty impressed. And then I got a follow-up question after that in terms of the Heisman. So Tommy, what are you seeing out of Colorado? They were already kind of must-see TV already. At least, you want to at least see how they were going to do. But it's a fun watch. I mean, what do you think was going on there?
It's hard to call because of the trenches. I mean, they get these wins, but the teams that they're playing aren't the most impressive teams. Like, it's not like anybody was talking about UCF before this game.
Right.
But when they play the teams that matter, they're exposed because of the trenches, the
Right.
O-line and D-line every single time. So, and on top of that, the depth. Like, he has good starters. The problem is if a starter goes down, who's that second string?
Exactly.
You're playing teams where if their starter goes down, it might be a four star that's coming in,
Right.
if not a 5. Your starter goes down, you might be going to a 3-star. You know what I'm saying? So that's been their biggest problem when they're playing the bigger teams is, one, the trenches, and number 2, if anybody gets hurt, they're getting replaced by somebody. The talent level is so much. The gap is so big from first string to second string that they almost have to stay healthy to even compete with a lot of these teams. So for me to just kind of even get excited with them, I mean, like next, when you said like they play Kansas State, like you got to show me there. Like that's a team that's out there that's actually, what'd you say, top 12, ranked. Like, show me there. I like, you're supposed to beat up on these little teams or whatever. You went out and you snatched all of these, 4 and 5 stars from these other schools and stuff, transfers and yada, yada, yada. So when you playing teams that don't necessarily have that depth or don't have the 4 and 5 stars like you have, it's the same thing that he did when he went to Jackson State. He had more talent, so he was able to run over these people. Whenever he's faced a team that's had equal talent or more, that's when we're like, and either we're coming up with excuses or we're just saying what it really is. But either way,
Right.
we're not talking about them as, they might be this, they might be that. And I think that's the problem is it doesn't matter what you do to these, weaker teams. It matters what you do to the, to the better teams.
Gotcha. Coach, what are your thoughts on Colorado? And have you revised? I forget what you went in with. I don't know if you said 5 wins, 6. I forget what your preseason was, but are you rethinking that now? And what do you think about? Is this in fact a legit turnaround at Colorado, or is this again? It's just the schedule is dictating that they're having these wins.
I don't think it's the schedule. I think it's always a difficult time when you're bringing in new systems and making new adjustments. It's always a difficult time. The players have had more time to learn the system. I also think that in Colorado's case, with the fact that they have Deion, that he's going to bring in those players that are aspiring to be in the NFL. His time is just going to come. Also, when was the last time that you've seen 2 potential Heisman Trophy candidates on the same team? And with a player like Travis Hunter, you've seen what he can do. Right now, he's the best cornerback in the college football, one of the best players in the league. Shedeur, probably the best pound-for-pound passer using what he's got. Yes. He's one.
Don't chop that up a minute. Hang on.
He's throwing close to 300 yards with the team that he has. You can't beat that. They only need 2 more wins to be bowl eligible. They almost there. If they win anything above 6 games, it's just a positive. Now, as far as him coming back, I don't think he's going to leave if Shedeur goes to the NFL. He still has a son there. He still has some more wins that he can rack up. And I think if he does decide to leave at any point after that, he'll be able to pick and choose where he goes. So,
yeah, I look at this again. In a classical football program, you talk about 5 years, right? I mean, this was a team that had 1 win when he got there. And if this is basically year 2 of a 5-year project, like I said, the schedule is not nearly what it was last year. They played some, bowl contenders last year on their schedule. So, again, they got, Kansas State, Arizona, Cincinnati, Texas Tech, Utah, Kansas, Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State is not even ranked this year. So I'm not saying that, again, that's what I'm saying. I don't think they're going to be, going into the 12 dance or anything like that. I don't think that, but I think it's a good platform because, again, with college football, it's also about recruiting. So if you can sell the image that, look, this is a program on the rise, you come here, they're already getting national exposure. I mean, they're like must watch regardless because Simply Prime is there. So if you can go into a home and sell a kid on, look, this is a program 2 years ago where they won one game. You see where this program is going. He gets his team into a major bowl. He gets to 8 or 9 wins, gets into a holiday bowl past December. And he can then use that to build next year. And then how many, because this is essentially just a lot of this team got basically a turnover from last year. A lot of those guys left after last year. So you got so many different moving pieces in, even with the coaching staff. So I don't think that, I agree with you, Tommy, that this isn't the most compelling schedule to say, oh man, they're legit or they're contenders. But I think it's certainly something he can build on. And if he can take this, again, a 9+ win, and if he gets a bowl win going into next season, he's going to have access to a lot more of those 4 and 5s that would have went to another program. And so that's that. So I guess I'm looking more at the long term, not so much for this year. But I think, again, that win against Baylor, I think that could be a pivotal. We look back at this, I think that could be one of the pivotal wins that makes this program something where it was a disaster a couple years ago.
I think the problem what you're looking at is you're talking recruiting from an old school perspective. You got to remember NIL is king right now. So he's also competing with other schools that, Oregon, they got a blank check. Texas, blank check. Alabama, we know how big their wallet is. Michigan. It's just not a given that, if you show on the field, they're going to come. You also got to remember they also got to have that check ready too. Mm-hmm. So that's another issue that you face, and probably reason why he is probably going to end up leaving is I don't think they pockets is deep enough. So because everything that you can do with him, you could do at other schools, plus get that bag. So you got to remember when you're talking 4 and 5 stars, that's what's important to them now. You know, if you're talking 3 stars, then you might have a conversation with them. But when you're talking 4 and especially 5 stars, it's the bag that's attached to that. And
right.
It always has been, but now it's one up front. You know what I'm saying?
But isn't there with the NIL, isn't there also more opportunity? Because again, those 4 and 5 stars, they'd be stacked up on Alabama or something else. You'd be second and third string just looking for your shot. So
that's kind of why I disagree with Trey Ferg was saying, as far as I get what he's saying about them getting them 300s, but I think that's about to change with Alabama, because if I could get a bag and go somewhere else and play, that's going to be a bigger decision now. Because at first it was, if I play for Alabama, there's a good chance I go to the NFL. Now is I can go play for another team, still go to the NFL, and get a bag on top of that. And I think that's going to start snatching people from Alabama. But I don't know if Colorado can compete financially with some of these other schools. So it sounds good to say these 4 and 5 stars are going to see how Colorado goes and think for potential. But it's a whole different mindset now when they're picking the school. It's not just, hey, this team looks good, yada, yada, yada. It's, hey, where's that bag at as well?
Yeah.
But with the NIL, it doesn't matter what school you go to. It's if you are that standout guy. But that's where Colorado is going to have favor, especially now, because let's just say Colorado wins out, right? Let's just say they wins out. Now players are looking like, hey, this is the school for me. If they get 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, top 300 players, that's a win for Colorado. And everything else after that, you know what I'm saying? It's like it's going to just roll downhill. And as far as, you're looking at your Alabama, LSU, Georgia, it's only so many slots there because those guys that's been waiting for their turn, they now stepping up. So I just believe that with Deion being there, his name, he's going to get a raise increase. If he goes to a bowl and win, they're going to give him an extra $2 million to keep him there. And I think he has to put in, I say, what's this, his second year? So maybe 6-7 years in, if he decides to stay after the 5 years, they'll probably bump him up to one of the highest paid coaches in the league, and then it's history from there. I think he'll be able to do. But the trick is this: going to Colorado. Who wants to be in Colorado in December, January with 4 feet of snow? That's gonna be the trick.
I don't know, because I mean they go to Michigan, and Michigan is just as bad, if not worse.
Well, there you go then. So,
but
they will be all right.
I don't know what him getting paid has to do with the recruits. Is my thing. Like, I mean, he will be a draw, and I agree with you that there's only so many slots, but they also don't hold the cachets in other schools as well. So if I can give you the cachet and give you the bag, then I just think because I mean it's Colorado, it's just always going to be an uphill battle, and that's why I don't think he's going to end up staying. I'm thinking that Florida State job. I'm thinking it.
I was just about to ask you that. I mean, obviously, you know, I don't know what the wheels came off of Florida State. Don't know what happened to them or whatever. But I mean, that would be almost like a shoe-in. Like they would roll out the red carpet for Deion if they could swing him there from there. Plus, this is alma mater also. So I mean that.
Well, we thought that the first time.
No, but it's like there's no excuses now. It's like the fan base is going to be clamoring for that
100%.
especially if Colorado does well. He gets them to 8 or 9 wins and wins a bowl or whatever. It's like, yo, this is the next step.
Yeah. And it'll be perfect. I'm coming home. All that. Yeah,
absolutely.
But it goes back to what I said. Just because he goes to Florida State, you think these 5 stars are going to switch the schools that they're already in to go play for him? Just like if he wins at Colorado, it's going to do the same shift. So it's him who the players are going to attach themselves to, and they're still going to get their NIL deal. You know, if you're a top 300 player, no matter where you go, you're going to get the bag. It's boosters everywhere, believe me. You can go to a Division II school and get $400 or $500 a month cash money under the table.
No.
So
Trey First.
I think
when you talking top 300,
hey, that's a different bag.
Levels to boosters.
But what I'm saying is,
the head of Nike tells Oregon, you have a blank check.
But it's
that's a different level of NIL.
But that's what I'm saying. It's levels to the NIL. But if I ain't in the 300 and I can go to Appalachian State and get $1,000 a month and a free education, some players are cool with that. Everybody ain't going to the league.
No, that's what I was saying. Because when he was speaking about 4 and 5 star athletes, and that's why I said if you want to talk about 3 stars, that's different. Because what you're saying is exactly right. When you're talking 4 and 5 stars, that's when you get them Texases. That's when that oil money is getting tossed around. That's when that Nike money is getting tossed around. That's when that Michigan alumni money is getting tossed around. And it's just a different ball game there. And that's why I was saying I just don't know if Colorado can compete with people that's basically saying y'all got a blank check. You get what I'm saying? I mean, they USC. Caleb Williams was living in a downtown. What was it? $1 million, $2 million apartment. Like it's levels. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But again, okay, let's just say there's levels. Shedeur Sanders at Jackson State was making $2 million. So what level is that? And he wasn't a 5-star.
Yeah, but let's keep it real. The only reason why is 1, because he's attached to his dad, and 2, the only reason why he was at that school was because of his dad.
But that's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter what school. If you can ball, you can go anywhere and you're going to get the bag. Some players decide to go to these other schools because they want to come in and make an impact immediately. Now, if you're okay with going to sit down for 2 years and stuff and just be on your little scholarship, but most players today, they want the bag coming in, so they're going to go where they can get that bag at. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely. Speaking of, so again, we talked about, kind of alluded to it earlier. So obviously after, after this game, the Heisman conversation is already in full swing. So obviously leading that list, I was just looking on the sports app. So again, Travis Hunter seems to be right now the forerunner for the Heisman, but right behind him, especially after that performance, Jalen Milroe from Alabama is number 3. And again, you still got Shedeur, who is putting up the numbers. Now, again, whether this, if my man from Alcorn State, if he could put up crazy numbers or whatever and still be, a Heisman, then I think certainly Shedeur could do it. He has a ridiculous accuracy rating. I think it's like 73% passing rating. He puts up yards, certainly every game. And if he has a fairly successful year, he's going to be in the mix. So just from what you guys have seen so far, who is your Heisman front runner? And is the fact that both Shedeur and sorry, that's my dog barking, and Travis are on the same team, do they cancel each other out? Or do you think that there's a clear distinction between those two?
No, I think Travis is heads and above number one. I think Shedeur got work to do. Look, if Shedeur is going up against Jalen Milroe, good luck, because you're talking about somebody who's putting up numbers against real teams against somebody who's putting up numbers against Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to be looked at different, and rightfully so. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Not to mention, yeah, he's throwing for these yards, but why is he throwing for these yards? Because a lot of the time they down. There's comebacks and stuff like that. So it's looked at completely different. You get what I'm saying? So
yeah,
I think Travis is definitely the heads and above front runner, but I think because of the level of the teams that they're playing, I think Shedeur is going to have to, just basically keep up the level that he's at as far as with the numbers, and he's going to have to stack wins too. You know, you're not winning no Heisman on, 7 to 8 wins when you got another guy over here who's putting up numbers against a tougher opponents and probably going to have a better record. You get what I'm saying? So.
Right. But wouldn't that argument also then be a counter to Travis Hunter then? Because again, he's defending the Arizonas and whatnot.
No, because we attach, whether it's fair or not, we attach a lot more to the quarterback than we do to other players. Mm-hmm. So we attach wins and losses to quarterbacks. We've never looked at a cornerback and said wins and losses. You know what I'm saying? Hell, I can even say we've never looked at a receiver and said wins and losses. That's kind of, as a quarterback, you take the good and you also got to take the bad. So you get too much credit for the wins, and you probably get too much credit for the losses as well. And that's just how that position is. With Travis Hunter, he's putting the highlights out, and we tend to forget that a lot of the Heisman is highlights, and he game-saving fumbles, interceptions. The fact that he's playing on both sides. He's an electric talent, and he's probably one of the most electric since probably like Reggie Bush, to be honest with you. Just as far as just must-see TV, what is he going to do next type of deal. And that's kind of like perfect for the Heisman, whereas as a quarterback, again, like whether it's fair or not, that record is going to be attached to your performance. Whether it's more because of your O-line. I don't think that the record is due to Shedeur. I think Shedeur is a first round quarterback. But again, they get too much credit for the wins and they get too much credit for the losses. So that's just life. It ain't fair. It's life. So that's why I say I think Shedeur kind of has an uphill battle because again, if you put in 6 or 7 wins and you're going against a quarterback that's in a way tougher conference and he's possibly going to put up 10, 11. How do I then turn around and go, I'm giving you the Heisman? You know what I'm saying? That'd be tough.
Yeah, I hear it. Yeah, it should be interesting. I'm kind of leaning towards Milroe. Again, I think the record matters. My only bias is I'm just biased against Alabama quarterbacks because none of them have been worth anything, any NFL level, and we're seeing that now with the Carolina quarterback or whatever. So again, if you want a quarterback, a legit one, don't get him from Alabama. But again, that was maybe in the Saban era. Maybe this new era, maybe they open up a little bit because the Saban era, they were all about, physicality and just running it down your throat and whatnot. And the QB just had to be a game manager. But maybe they open it up for Milroe. He's got ridiculous numbers now. He's only got 1 interception. I think he's got 18 total touchdowns, 1 interception, 73% completion percentage. So he's putting up numbers. So maybe they may get one. Maybe they won't get one this time. But let's move on to the NFL. So again, we're at the quarter mark of the season, and then there were 2. So we have 2 undefeated teams. We have, expectedly, Kansas City. Okay, now again, they look ugly doing it. Like I made the analogy last week. This is like if you guys watch wrestling, This is like how Ric Flair used to win his matches all the time. He would never beat Road Warrior Hawk or any of those guys, them big guys or whatever. He'd always get the pin, the roll up, hold the tights, foot on the rope or whatever, cheat his way to victory. But nevertheless, as ugly as it is, and they got losses too, they still went in. I picked at the beginning of the season. I'm picking Kansas City to three-peat. I'm choosing the field. Hey, my man R-Pain, salute, sir. Good to have you up.
Hey,
I'm picking them against the field to do it again. I'm not betting against them. I don't care. All right. If Mahomes could do this on one leg, no wide receivers or whatever, still win a Super Bowl, I can't go against that. But then you have the surprising Minnesota Vikings, who at the beginning of the year, everyone was shocked. They lost McCarthy at the beginning of the year. He was supposed to be the heir apparent. Somehow this guy Darnold, he's rejuvenated, and now they're 4-0 in firm. I know Detroit, they looked impressive in the last game against Seattle, but who do you like between those two? Who impresses you the most? Or if it's not those two, who do you got? What are your impressions so far at this quarter mark of the NFL season? Who you looking at? Again, I'm still rolling with Kansas City until like Ric Flair said, you're not the man until you beat the man. They are is ugly, but they're still the man. It does. Well, that's the thing. Refs cheating again. Win as you will, but always cheat. This is class. This is like how Ric Flair used to do it. So what do you guys got? Tommy, who's impressing you so far this year? You think is Minnesota legit, or is this fool's gold? What are we looking at here?
I'd have to say Detroit, to be honest with you. I think everybody saw what Detroit did last year, and I think for most, unless you were in Detroit, I think everybody thought it might have been a fluke. So for them to come out the way that they've come out this year, that's been extremely impressive. Kansas City is Kansas City. Like you said, it's been ugly. The Bills until last week.
Yeah, they got smoked. We got turned right now too.
Shit. And it's kind of hard to say the Bills because they look impressive. I don't know how many years, and they go into the playoffs, and it's just can't get it done.
Can't get it done. You're right. You're right. In part due to Kansas City. It's like Jordan back in the day against Olajuwon or whoever. No one just get by him. Or the Knicks all those years, you can't get by him. So unless he beats Mahomes, he puts up 40-something points in a game and still can't beat him. Yeah. 10 seconds left in the game and still can't beat him until you beat the man. I can't roll with him. So R-Pain, again, thanks for jumping on with us tonight.
Yeah.
Again, who you impress? Who's impressive? Who's got the better 4-0? Kansas City, Minnesota. Who you looking at?
Well, first of all, I'm not convinced about Minnesota. I'm happy for Donald though. His resurgence.
That is crazy. Yeah, comeback player of the year.
He just needed a new environment. It's kind of like Geno Smith. He needed an environment that was nurturing for him, and Geno Smith is going to probably retire as a decent quarterback. But his first 5 years was a disaster, But you know what? To tell you the truth, I think we might see something with the Ravens. I'm a Ravens guy. Well, no, I like the Ravens because, of course, Lamar Jackson. I think Henry's going to make all the difference. I said they didn't use him right in the first 2 games until they came to their senses. Because last game he was like phenomenal.
Yeah.
That was number one. And if he's part of the offense. And where Lamar doesn't have to throw more than 20 to 25 times and run maybe 10, they're going to be real dangerous. Now, here's where Lamar, and I was talking with Trey Ferg on my show. Here's where he's at. He's a notch below great because that pass that he missed in the Kansas City game is the reason why he's not a great quarterback. The great ones make that pass.
Right.
They make that pass. Somebody said, well, that's just one. Yeah.
Remember, he missed 2 passes.
Yeah, there you go. So he's got to make those passes. And, of course, he's never going to be there until he at least gets to a Super Bowl. And, of course, he got to go through Kansas City. I think they played Cincinnati this week, right?
Yeah.
They got to beat Cincinnati because that almost puts Cincinnati out of the picture almost completely. At 1-4, they're almost out of the picture. So, but as far as where's the surprises at? Minnesota, maybe. Detroit might be even a little disappointing. Only 2-2, right? Something like that.
3-1.
3-1.
Detroit is 3-1. Yeah.
3-1. Okay. I think the Commanders are going to be a surprise team.
Oh gosh, yeah. Definitely we're looking at that QB, possibly rookie of the year.
Yeah. So
I mean, he looked.
But you don't believe that, Tom? You look at you like you rubbing his
No,
head.
that was supposed to be our quarterback, man. And our offensive coordinator, both of them, man. He didn't come to us because we didn't get the quarterback.
Man. But
anyway, so that's enough for me. I just think it's an interesting season, and since they have 17 games, it's hard to call. So we got to look at the first 5 games as opposed to the first 4, because I know that people like to break it up in quarters. So it's got to be the first 5 games. If you're 1-4, you're pretty much out. The last 0-4 team to make the playoffs was in 1992. So 1-4 can't be much better.
But you got the 1 extra game, so that kind of throws that record out the way because that 1 extra game matters. And injuries.
Okay.
Injuries. We're watching the 49ers right now. Injury bug. There's a lot of teams out there. These injuries is tearing them up. So you also got to remember that too.
Yeah. But even then, the 49ers are still 1 game out. They're only 1 game behind.
McCaffrey's injury, because that's what I picked his ass in my fantasy league, and then all of a sudden I see the big IR come up. I said, "How come they didn't say that before?"
R-Pain, the man curse, man. Man curse.
I'm telling you, Coach. What you got here? Okay, so most surprising out of 4-0, who's the legit one? You buying Minnesota, or it's Kansas City, or are they done? Like I said, I can't go against them until you bury them 10 feet under. I'm not giving up on Kansas City. They're my favorites to win the Super Bowl, even though I'm a Steelers fan, and I'm sticking by it until someone proves me different.
I think we can all agree with Kansas City. Kansas City has proven year in and year out. Even if I don't know, they just seem to replenish every year, regardless of a running back. And Patrick Mahomes is, of course, he's the Tom Brady of the league right now. As far as surprises, I'm not surprised at Minnesota. Brian Flores is one of the best coaches in the game. His defense is legit, and as long as they play balanced offensive football, Minnesota would be okay. I see them getting at least 12 wins in the NFC, especially the North, because Chicago, they might win 4 or 5 games. It's going to be the same. Ain't going to be nothing too much better. Jordan Love, he's the X factor right now. He's the one that has the potential, but Green Bay doesn't have the star power. So if he can come back and play consistent, Green Bay will be okay. Dallas is another team that I'm surprised about. You sign your big players, but again, you got to own a GM/fan that he ain't afraid to put anybody under the bus. But, who else is a surprise? I'm surprised at Philadelphia right now where they struggle. But I think it's their coach. I think Philadelphia's coach is just too immature. Washington is definitely a surprise, but they're playing good ball. I don't think people expected them to be coming out like they are, but it's just the way it is. Some players rise when they get to the NFL, some just fall off. And I'm just glad that I can see that the brothers are sort of taking hold of the quarterback position and just changing the game. So salute, man. I think Baltimore will be all right, though. They just need to keep running the ball. And they go,
which is why that loss by the Steelers to the Colts, that's why it still bites me now. We could have had that game or whatnot and stayed ahead because I knew Baltimore. I at the beginning of the year, I knew they'd be a competition for us. So I was definitely hurt that we lost that game. But again, who's really hurting right now? You talk about the Cowboys early, who played the Steelers this weekend. So again, certainly looking forward to it's a primetime matchup. But again, Jerry going out there, talk about we didn't have the money to play Henry. Henry was there for you. You see the state of your running game at this point. Yes, you had all that money to play Dak and CeeDee Lamb. You could have used them. He torched you. And then you see the man talk about the man lost a step. He outran that first play of the game. He outran everybody. to be that big and still have that burst. So everyone talking about, Derrick Henry's done. You need to revisit that because my man still got some juice.
Hey, ask old boy on the Cowboys if he's done.
So brother Bennett, based off
That's
that
what
with
it
Jerry
tells.
Jones, you think if he had went to CD and Dak and said, "Look, I want to sign Derrick Henry," do you think they would have
absolutely for what? How much is he getting? What, $8 million?
Yeah, something
at this point. I mean, he's not even getting. Look, if he's getting like the 12, 15 like Saquon got, you could be like, okay, that could be a little. But again, for sub $10 million, he's 20. I think he'll be 29 this year. And again, we're seeing his last 2 games. You put him in the right environment and whatnot. He's still, there's still a lot of tread on those tires, and so yeah, that's a big whiff, and it's just ridiculous to say you can't afford $8 million when you're paying these guys this crazy money. You put $100 million in 2 players.
They didn't even make a phone call.
No,
like they didn't even make. That's insane.
I mean, it's
Just think about Henry though on that team when your quarterback is your decoy. I mean, pick your poison. You know what I'm saying?
No, when they announced that, that's exactly what I was thinking. Like, bro, how do you stop that? You either try to stop Lamar, or you try to stop Henry. Like,
right?
What the insane?
Right.
But again, we're getting another week where again. We talked about these salaries. I said all these quarterbacks got paid in the offseason, right?
Right.
Jacksonville quarterback, whatnot, got that $275 million or whatever they were on for. So a lot of these guys are just not panning out. Dak, they're already struggling at 2-2. Hopefully they'll be 2-3 after this week or whatever. So I don't know. I think this quarterback market has to break at some point. You got with the Cleveland Browns, I got all that guaranteed money tied up in
Watson.
In Watson. So again, at some point. Just like they had to reassess with the running backs and the running backs, what we're seeing this year is that the running backs are making an impact this year. So if we're going back to the running game, then we may have to be reevaluating that are these quarterbacks worth $60 million a year when they're not panning out. I understand they're the CEO of the team. I get as Tommy said or alluded earlier, quarterbacks are treated differently. But if I'm something's got to give somewhere. We just can't just automatically just because you've been in the league for 5 years, you get $60 million with 125 and up guaranteed.
Let me ask you a question though, Mr. Bennett. Didn't they change the payment rules for quarterbacks when they stopped giving the first round draft choices when they changed the salary for the running back?
Not that I recall.
Not a running back, a quarterback issue. Wasn't that a quarterback issue?
No, it was technically a quarterback issue, but it was a rookie quarterback issue because you're a rookie and yours around one like Jamarcus Russell, you was getting $60 million guaranteed.
Yeah.
And it basically was about to, go off the hook, so they stopped it. And that's essentially what's probably going to happen with the quarterbacks. That's
what I'm saying. So they already made one adjustment for the rookie quarterback coming in.
Yeah, but you just had this in the past.
We're still back in that situation again.
Yeah, just the past 2 years, you've had 5 or 6 quarterbacks get upwards of $250 million plus, and the records are not showing. So right now, we thought Patrick Mahomes got that crazy $500 million deal or whatever, but it's almost like now he's underpaid. Because a lot of that money was incentive-based. They pushed a lot of it back towards the end of the contract. But they may need to tear that up because he's the only one playing like he honestly deserves the money. So
he even adjusted his contract, his pay for this year, just so he can have the players. Now, why couldn't Jerry Jones just do that? Listen, CD Dak, listen, man, I'm going to give y'all $10 million less, $5 million a piece less, so we can go and get Henry over here and we can go and be Super Bowl. They'd have immediately been Super Bowl contenders. Immediately.
Right.
Here we are.
Yep, absolutely. All right, I want to switch gears a little bit because I know a lot about. So, how do you feel about quarterback getting paid more than NFL rookie quarterbacks? Hey, it may be going at with NIL money. It could possibly be going that way. No question about it. But I think that a lot of it is I think some of that is also going to be based on market. Like, who do you want to watch? I mean, I think they tie some of that NIL to just fan base. I mean, Shador, whatever. I think he deserving of that kind of money because again, it's like it doesn't matter. Even last year, it was must see until it got real bad at the end. It was like must see TV. You just want to see because of the environment that they were in. So if your name's getting called that much or whatever, then yeah, I mean, I think let the market decide. But it just seems like in the NFL with the QB market, it's just like, what have these guys done? You had the Jacksonville quarterback. He had that 1 year when they came back against San Diego in the playoffs. That's it. You mean to tell me he's worth $275 million because of that? I would like to just like see a bit more. I don't mind spending on a QB, but show me something. And when you got guys like the quarterback out of Seattle we talked about, or like even Jared Goff. I mean, look, the numbers he put up: 18 for 18, 292 yards, 2 touchdowns, and scored a touchdown. I mean, I think he broke the QBR record, something like that. It was some ridiculous number. So again, everybody was thinking after that Super Bowl run with the Rams, they didn't think that there were serious, that he was a bust. And now he's rejuvenated. You already see what's happening with Darnold, whatnot. So again, environment matters, coaching matters. We see what's happening with Washington again with a rookie coach and coaching staff. We see what's happening with Jaden Daniels. He seems to be, certainly showing a lot of grit in early on in his career. We'll see if he can stay healthy because he's still, to me, he's a little on the smaller side. And I'm just not fond of these smallest QBs. I say, look, you need to, get in the gym, pump up a little bit, eat a few cheeseburgers or something like that. Again, I didn't like Lamar losing all that weight, 15 pounds or whatever. Yes, he's lighter and running, but he's taking. I saw him early on taking too many hits early on. So I'm glad that they switched to Derrick Henry. Yeah, and he's that's a huge guy. He can't stay healthy.
Yeah, but he also don't know how to freaking slide.
Yeah. Everyone's trying to do like Cam, even Superman Cam Newton. He finally broke down after a while trying to play that physical style.
Quarterback from I think Louisville that was real slight. He kept getting hurt. The brother, God damn it, I think it was from Louisville. He bounced around a couple of different teams.
I think you're talking about from West Virginia. Pat, was it Pat Williams?
No.
Are you talking about what's his name, man?
Pat White.
Ended up playing running back. Are you talking?
No, he was recent. Jesus, I'll figure it out. Maybe I'll find out.
Yeah,
Lamar Jackson.
Not Lamar. It was a brother. He played. Did he play for Minnesota? He played for a couple of teams.
All right, we'll try to get it for the end.
I forgot. He just kept getting hurt, man, because he was so slight. But I thought he was okay. I thought it was Louisville came out.
But small. Yeah, but them small ones. So again, the NFL game, it's much faster. Hey, Shawnee, welcome to the show. Good to have you on, brother. Kind of switch and focus before we move on, Shawnee. So again, we talked about the college game. We talked about NFL. Anything you want to quickly just go on before we move on to the switch gears on the show? Any comments on your Cowboys? We got that big game coming up with the Steelers primetime Sunday night. Anything you got before we move on to the next segment?
But the Cowboys, they look like week 4 was not good to them because they starting to hit a lot of injury bugs. So I don't really know what they're going to be looking like for the near part of the next couple of games or whatnot. I've still got to look up at Parsons. We ain't going
Parsons is out.
Lawrence, right? He's on IR.
Yeah.
Brandon Cooks, he's gonna be out for a couple of games due to some infection. So they getting slim. But as far as the other teams, the biggest team I'm really impressed by are the Vikings. I got to watch them how they played when I watched them playing versus the Texans, and they are legit all around team. Like I can't think of another team in the NFL that's playing better than them on both sides of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And with the fact that what's his name, he may be, I haven't looked at the odds yet, but he may be the early season MVP favorite, and that's Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
He's already leading the league in touchdown passes. He's number 1, and Baker Mayfield is number 2. So all the other QBs, it's really like all the QBs that you heard in the offseason, all the big names, they not really doing well right now. Patrick Mahomes is barely getting by. He keep losing receivers. And Rodgers, New York they struggling offensively. So the best quarterback playing right now are QBs that you wouldn't expect, and that's Darnold, Mayfield, hell, even what's the name?
Goff,
QB in New Orleans.
Derek Carr,
Derek
Carr.
Carr, yeah.
So
Goff.
Golf, but golf, you figured that he will be doing this because he was doing it last year. And I know
Right.
the city of Detroit, they just accepting that dude.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but they
but I'm
ran,
just
but they ran him out of L.A. though. They thought
They
again,
did.
game man
Yeah,
did
they
that.
did.
That was so again, like I said, environment matters when it comes to your,
But I think also, I don't think everybody was like, we watched what Detroit did last year. We were impressed, happy because they've been pretty much my whole life shitty. But this year was a can you do it again year. And so
Yeah.
the fact that they're doing it again is what makes it impressive, because a lot of teams can have one good year, but when you come back and you show that you're a solid team, that it wasn't a fluke, that's when it gets impressive. And that's why I said Golf, because basically everybody was just kind of sitting back to see, okay, is it going to be the same old Detroit, or was last year real? And now they've basically proven that last year was probably real.
Awesome. All right, want to move on. Just take a totally different direction in the show. Wanted to talk about this week. It always tends to happen in bunches, right? We had some passings of some major sports figures this week. So the first one we had was Dikembe Mutombo, who basically played for Georgetown under Thompson. And a good career. I know he's a Hall of Famer. I would say he was in a category of the good or possibly very good. 8-time All-Star. Certainly made a name for himself. I believe it was in the 1993-94 season where I think he was with Denver. They were the 8th seed. They upset Seattle. I think that was the first time a 1 seed loss in the playoffs to a lower seed. Had a very good career, bounced around with a few teams, and he actually became probably more popular post-career for his commercials. He was always known in the game for blocking shots, and he would do that, not today. That was always his moniker, and he made a commercial career certainly out of that. But again, always very affable. Certainly helped to put a lot of African basketball on the map, because before him you had Manute Bol and maybe a couple other guys or whatever. And now Africa is starting to become this major hub for guys getting talent. We already saw what the team from Northern Senegal in the Olympics. They had the Team USA on the ropes in the game. Going into the playoffs. So again, sad to see him go at 58 years old. So just like Coach Ferg is always saying, I'm saying now I'll be 55 this month, and just brothers. We need to be taking care of ourselves better. Make sure you get those checks. So I don't care if you're a former athlete or whatever, just take care of yourself and make sure you do the things to keep you around healthy, because 58 is just too soon for any one of us to go. And certain things can't be helped because, again, cancer is undefeated. But, certain things we can do to help preserve our health. But I just remember him, again, as just a happy warrior. I think one of those guys just happy to be in the league. He was always affable, very entertaining to watch, limited offensively, but certainly he made his impact certainly on the court. So, again, rest in peace to Dikembe Mutombo. And I just want to just bounce it around. Anybody have any thoughts? I guess most of us are old enough to remember when he was playing. And so any thoughts on Mr. Mutombo? R. Payne, what do you remember from his career?
I remember him from Georgetown, man, because I used
Hoya
to
Paranoia. Well, that was the post Hoya Paranoia days, but he was like the next.
I knew when I lived in the Bronx when my man Wiki Brown, that we called him Wiki.
Wow.
I knew him personally. We played on the same. He was younger than me, right? But at 14, he was playing with the big boys. He was a phenomenon. Went to Stevenson High School, and so I remember the game when we had 10 NBA players on the court when they played North Carolina. It has to be for me one of the best basketball games ever. But I kept watching Georgetown after that. But when the combo came on, I said, I was still watching. They were still an average. They were still a good team. They were still a good team.
Yeah.
And so I followed him through the pros. Yeah, man. He died too early, man.
Absolutely.
I didn't know he made. For some reason, I didn't know he made it to the Hall of Fame. Was he enshrined?
Yeah, he's inducted into the Hall. I forget the year, but again, 8 time, like I said, 8-time All-Star.
All-Star.
And again, I think he was certainly one of those major. He's probably the first player from Africa that was actually good. Like I remember Manute Bol coming to the league. He was just 7'2" and 7'6" or something like that. And I think he broke his teeth. I think trying to dunk or something like that. He lost all his. So again, not known for talent, but he was just he was just a freak.
So he died
player.
of cancer. He died of cancer. He died of cancer. Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah. So
yeah, man. That's it's sad to hear.
Absolutely, Coach. Any reflections on Dikembe?
I mean, it's just unfortunate, but I'm gonna go say this in regards to brothers. Listen, I said it time before. Start taking care of your health, man. Start taking care of your health, man. Go take your ass to the doctor. You ain't doing nobody no good if you're not here and you got a family. Go to the doctor if you see any signs, blood in your stool, anything, blood in your urine, anything. Go to the doctor. You got a headache that lasts too long. Go to the doctor. You have to go, man, because we lead in deletions in some of these, unfortunate, reasons for death, man. So just take care of your health, man. That's all, man. It's unfortunate about my brother Dikembe, brain cancer. I think he had brain cancer. So, when you get early signs, man, go to the doctor. The
reason why I laughed,
2015. Thank you, Terry, for looking that up for us. Yeah,
that's another thing. That's another reason why men need wives. Because if it was left up to us, we will not go to the doctor, man. I'm serious. I mean, you got to be almost on your deathbed for most men. I'm not all men, but for most men, you got to be hurting real bad. Say, you know what, this shit just ain't going away. So I got to go in. Real quick, I'm gonna let my brother Shawnee go. I had this exam coming up, right? It was going to be like this real invasive procedure that I had to do. So I on the phone with my wife, said, I think I can, push this shit back. She said, what are you talking? She said, what are you talking about? You're going to this goddamn exam. We've been waiting for a month or so. She just shut me down so fast. She said, you're going. I don't want to hear nothing about it.
Thank you, Mrs. Payne.
I just said, man, that's why I married you and shit, because I was definitely trying to get some puppy dog love. It's okay. She wasn't having that shit. Your ass is going through this shit.
Awesome.
That shit was pretty funny.
That's
anyway,
awesome.
I went.
I think a lot of times everybody's thinking they could just work through it or just something related to work or something. And they just,
I hear you. Shawnee, what you got? I know maybe a little. I know you were younger. You're probably the youngest guy here.
I remember Mutombo. I remember Mutombo. He made it like, okay, you don't have to. And this is why I always tell people. A lot of times when you hear people bring up the best in the NBA and whatnot, they always looking at one side of the ball offensively. Mm-hmm. They just completely ignore the other side, And Mutombo is like, look, I could still make an impact defensively. And, he's not like Olajuwon. Olajuwon was doing on both sides at the elite level. Mm-hmm. So Mutombo, he's just like, look, I just focus on defensively and just be winning, four-time Defensive Player of the Year. That's why I give, you can't knock what I still believe was just a sham. Dwight Howard is not on the top 75 great players. You can say the same thing about Rudy Gobert right now, but the only thing about him, for whatever reason, he don't show up in the playoffs defensively.
Mm-hmm.
But
he got set this last. He got set.
He won all these Defensive Player of the Year awards, but then all of a sudden in the playoffs, he literally looks like he's a liability.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, what the hell is going on? You were 4-time Defensive Player of the Year winner. He can go to the Hall of Fame just for that. Because Dikembe did the same thing, but Dikembe made an impact defensively every time he was on the court. Player. That's why, like you say, when they made that huge upset versus Supersonics, he was a huge part of it.
Yeah,
so that's what I remember him. And then, of course, his post career, his work that he did for his Congo. Because remember, what's his name? Serge Ibaka. He's also from Congo, and that's his idol.
Right.
And he basically picked up where Dikembe left off, whatnot. And that's why Serge is so, giving back to his native Congo land is so important. So it's definitely he's definitely going to be missed. And like I said, it was other big names that just happened to pass away this two big ones in sports, and then
we're gonna talk. We're gonna talk about him next. But again, I just remember him as just being there's just certain guys who just have a joy of life and a joy of playing, and he made blocking shots like popular, like fun. You know what I mean? Like you could be a shot blocker. You may not get may get 5-6 points a game or whatever, but you get 3 or 4 blocks in the game or whatever, and you can make it fun. So he just seemed like one of those guys who just loved to be there, and he was just fun to watch. And I remember his elation after they beat the Supersonics. He's on the floor or whatnot, and he's hugging the ball or whatnot, like, oh my gosh, yeah. So he just brought that joy to the game. And so it's just good to watch when you see
That's
guys
a classic
like that.
picture of him on the floor with that ball.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
The black man.
All right, so obviously the next one, obviously, and this is certainly one of the biggest names in sports. Obviously, Pete Rose died at 83 years old. And from what I understand, it came relatively sudden, like within this year. Like the guy, he's been pretty active on the fan circuit and this baseball signings and whatnot. But I was just listening to an interview with Johnny Bench earlier today, and saying that his health definitely took a turn for the worse. Certainly within this past year, last few months, and obviously, famous player, famous and infamous player. We all know, if you grew up in the 70s, you remember Charlie Hustle. The guy played like the guy I think he had a football background, and he played baseball like he was playing football. So again, the head first slides that he would do, knocking guys out. I think one catch he dislocated his shoulder or something like that, but you just saw him. He was just a bullish type of guy. Wasn't super talented. He wasn't graceful like Ken Griffey Jr. or Barry or any of those players. But the guy just as a grinder, all-time hits leader. 200 hits a year for a certain number of years or whatnot. Definitely Hall of Fame eligible just based on his stats. Obviously, we know what happened with the gambling, which we all understand. The number one rule in baseball is printed in every clubhouse. Do not bet on games under any circumstances. So even though he betted on his own team, still he violated that. Baseball treats that very seriously. What's that?
That ain't just baseball. That's in sports, period.
Yeah. But I'm saying baseball because of, the numbers. I mean, I think baseball, like any other sport, those numbers matter. The 56-game hitting streak, all-time hits, all-time homers. So anything that can throw those numbers off, they're very diligent about. And so obviously he's not in the Hall as a result of that. And my question now is, now that he's passed, could he get a post posthumously inducted into the Hall? Do you think that may clear the air for him to be put in as a player for his career? Do you think that's more likely to happen, or is it still they're going to be because there's been 3 heads of baseball said absolutely not, including the least guy Manfred said no, but at the same time, from what I understand, they gave him opportunities, like if you comply with certain things, but he kind of wanted to do things his way. And I just think that, there was some missed opportunities while he was alive. But I think as fans, as baseball, you can't tell the story of baseball without him. But when I understand his bat and gloves from the fort, and when he broke the hit record and whatnot, he was part of the Big Red Machine. A lot of his stuff is already in Cooperstown already. Should he get that shot, or do you think it's more likely he would get that shot?
Let me go first because I gotta pop out here soon.
Okay.
Listen, I think it'll be in a backwards way, I think it would be cruel to put him in the Hall of Fame now that he's dead. They should have forgiven him while he was still alive. I mean, we know, first of all, it wouldn't have took any of the real punishment away from the fact that he bet on baseball. I mean, how many years do you have to prove your point? 20, 10, 20, 30? And so if they automatically, now that he's dead, posthumously put him in the playoff, put him in a Hall of Fame, it seems a little cruel to me. Right? Because they're saying to everybody, we ain't going to give you any of these accolades while you're alive, but we'll give it to you when you're, dead for everybody else. But if I was a relative of him or a son or a grandson, I would be kind of, I don't know if that would be a celebration for me, because I would want to have to celebrate with him while he was still alive. And we know you only did it because you didn't want to give it to him when he was alive. I think that's kind of cruel. Everybody going to do it. They might end up doing it, but not right away, man. That's what I'm saying.
No.
That's my take on it.
And it's funny to me that the generation that's talking all this shit about participation trophies is the ones whining about him not being in the Hall. Accountability. Period, point blank. No. You broke it again. And not to even veer off into that, but the very same generation that talks accountability, the very same generation that talks participation trophies are the same ones I see crying about him not being in the Hall. He broke the sacred rule. He lied about breaking the sacred rule. No, your ass don't get to go in there. It's that simple to me. Period, point blank. It sounds harsh, but that's life. You chose to do that. And you know what's funny to me is nobody's crying for old boy that just got kicked out the NFL for doing it. They calling him stupid. Nobody's crying for him.
I differ. I spoke about this earlier without pain. It's just something funny about it. Now that he's no longer here, he'll probably get in just by the lifetime recipient or whatever. But it's just unfortunate, that anybody that played the game at a high level or even at a lower level, you should never bet on sports. Leave it up to the fans that cheer for you. Don't bet on the game while you're playing, after you're playing, when your kids is playing. Just enjoy the game. Let other people bet on you. But, I think he'll get in at some point. The rules always change at some point. He's no longer here, so it's just going to be unfortunate. But, yeah.
I don't think that rule ever going to change. And
he's going to get in.
The rule's not going to change.
I think beyond.
He'll get in, though. That rule about him getting in, he going to get in.
I agree with you that they be because they're going to have sympathy and stuff. But I think beyond the numbers meaning so much, it's the integrity of the game. It's what's most important and why they don't want you to bet. Because we've seen it in basketball, skimming points. Baseball is probably one of the easiest ways to, alter a game. And, there's no telling in football. So, again, that's the rule across all sports. It's not even just baseball. You don't bet because now the integrity of our game is up for debate.
Tommy, Shawnee, what you got?
Baseball is always just reason I say I feel like R-Pain, like if you're gonna put him in now, this is cruel because you're gonna put him in. Like right now, he already is not eligible based on the Hall of Fame based from the writers, association who typically vote him in, but he could potentially be in as from the Veterans Committee. And, he can potentially go in for that. And, that should be something that he knew how important it was for him to make it to the Hall if he was going to induct him. And baseball is just, they're very hypocritical to me. They will want their players that they'll act like they want to throw the law down when a player does something, but then turn around and be the main organization that's benefiting from them. And you clearly see that with the whole Sosa, McGuire, and Bonds. Oh, they benefit the hell out of that, especially Sosa and McGuire. I can vividly remember how baseball was so hot back then because they was watching that race between them two. and they capitalize on it. They capitalize on it. They capitalize on
Oh,
it.
it saved baseball. 'Cause remember that was coming off the strike year, or a couple years after the strike year, and whatnot. So that brought baseball all the way back. Yeah,
it's more than because Bonds was hot, but Bonds wasn't like Sosa and McGuire.
Now that came a couple years later. Yeah,
yeah. And baseball, MLB was just capitalized on it.
Hold on.
What's that?
Because we was watching that TV every day when Bonds was up. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah, no,
Bonds
Bonds didn't have the same. It wasn't the same because it was just Bonds. The thing about with McGuire and Sosa, they both was going at it. It was literally
I
a
don't know if you
race.
remember that Bonds year, bro. Like I know what you're saying because, well, I'll say it like this: because Sosa and McGuire were the original, and because Bonds happened so fast after. But I don't know if you remember, Bonds was like damn near every single game. It was one of it got ridiculous.
You must watch TV.
Yeah, it was like Sports Center. It damn near turned to Bonds is that bad. They'll stop Sports Center just to show he's that bad. They was
doing the same thing with both McGuire and Sosa.
Absolutely. But what I'm saying is they were the original. So it was like that record that held up all the way up until, and then they were the first ones to even threaten that record like that. So it's almost like the movies. Like the original is always going to be looked at as better, but Bonds by himself almost garnered that same attention because of the way he did it. Maybe because I was in the Bay, so we was like more kind of locked in on how often it was happening. But bro was like, it was damn near every game. It was almost guaranteed a home run.
It was across the country. Everybody was watching.
I know everybody.
It's the competition, though. That competition of two guys was.
What I'm saying is, where I'm from, we saw it get hot. When it got hot, that's when everybody watched. But where I'm from, it was like, damn, 2 home runs this game, 3. So then once it starts getting into the 20s, now it's national. Like, whoa, he's on the road. So, but what I'm saying is like, I'm just saying because we was all alive around for both to understand what's going on, and I'm agreeing with you that Sosa and McGuire was definitely like, I mean, again, they stopped television shows to show that shit, but I'm just saying like, I remember when Bonds did it, and it was just like, I think it was just more like the pace he was doing it was like it was crazy. Like
this is a white man.
Yeah, it's like what Mr. Bennett, because the thing about with the Sosa and McGuire, because it happened right after that strike, because it was people don't remember, like baseball was the hot sport in America. It was baseball followed by
football.
Probably football.
Pro football.
And then when Jordan came, that's when really pushed up basketball. But baseball was the top. And then when they had that strike, that's when they failed. And then football took a hard advantage. They took it over.
Yeah.
But then when that McGuire and Sosa came, that's when MLB was really pumping it. Really pumping it. And now, okay, y'all brought us a lot of money during this time, especially getting our fans back. But we see y'all doing the steroids, so we're gonna banish y'all and put y'all in this sea of forgetfulness. With
hey, gentlemen, I gotta
appreciate you, John.
Appreciate
you hopping on.
Let me just say this one thing before I go. I remember when Dusty Baker blew the championship when he took that ball from the pitcher and said, "I got it from here," and they lost that game and they lost that champ. I remember it like it was yesterday. He went up to the mound. He said, "Okay, man, we got it from here." He took the ball. I said, "No, don't do it. Don't say that." If they lost that game, they lost the championship, because that would have put the bloom on the rose for my man Barry Bonds. I believe that championship. Anyway, gentlemen, hey, pleasure. I'll see you guys.
Thanks again for hopping on by. Appreciate you. Yeah, I just want to say one more thing before we get to the last segment, because I want to give Tommy certainly the floor here, and that's the reason I invited him, and I'm glad that he was able to make it tonight. But again, we talk about, Major League Baseball and the Hall of Fame. From what I understand, there's still 2 separate entities. Baseball has its rules, but Cooperstown has its rules. Like you said earlier, it's the writers, and they can. It's really
the writers. The writers. It's basically like NFL Canton. The Hall of Fame is just like, we here. We don't control who come in here. It's these writers. Right. We here, but the writers, because it's a chance for them to stick their chest out. We the gatekeepers of this particular end game that y'all want to be in.
Right.
And the baseball writers, they just
But it's
can't let it
going to
go.
be interesting for two reasons, and why I think he has a chance to get in. One, I think because of the proliferation of gambling. I think just people's views on gambling, period, in sports, I think is changing a lot. And we talk about these writers. Again, with the digital age and whatnot, I don't know how impactful these writers are going to be in the future. When you got bloggers, you have these other personalities who just don't think like these old school writers in the newspapers and whatnot. Again, as long as those guys are around, they're going to have a say, and they're going to be like, we need to protect ours or whatever. Because the way they act, like nobody gets a unanimous ballot in baseball. No one. Doesn't matter who it is,
ridiculous.
which is ridiculous in and of itself, because somebody
That
needs
shit
to
lame
be,
as fuck.
because someone has to make a statement. So again, I think to all pains, I don't think it's going to happen right away, but I think 10 years from now, I think the mood will certainly change as new writers or certainly new influencers. They might not even call them writers, but it could be influencers. I think he may get into the Hall for that reason, but I would have no problem with him getting into the Hall, but having no part in baseball, and what should have been no coaching, no jobs, no hitting coach, no anything. I think that's fair, and but I could certainly see it happening. Now, if it doesn't happen, again, I won't be super heartbroken about it, but I think it will happen maybe I'd say within 10 years. That's just
I
my
disagree
general
with
view.
the gambling part. I think it's looked at differently amongst the civilians. Nobody's looking at a player gambling going, no big deal. No, that's still a big deal amongst all the fans. When we saw old boy get banned from the NFL, I saw nobody giving him bail. Everybody said he was stupid. So I disagree. The views on players gambling is exactly the same. You don't do it, and for obvious reasons, because you literally can alter the game. So,
But you don't think but again, Pete's record, again, the guy who got banned from NFL, was he an All Pro? Was he a Hall of Famer? Was he a contributor?
No,
was he a Super Bowl champion?
No, but
I'm just saying, I think a lot of that stuff matters in the perception of people, how they look at a player.
No, I get that, but I'm saying when you say that the perception of gambling is different, I don't think it's looked at differently for players. I think it's more accepted that fans are doing it, because before it was kind of like a taboo thing, or damn near like an undercover thing. You going through bookies and stuff, sports gamble. Now every podcast got a commercial about sports gambling.
Correct.
But
100%.
that's not I want my fucking starting quarterback to be, over here making bets. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So I don't think that's looked at differently. But and with all that said, again, I wouldn't be surprised if he got in. I just personally think, again, like I said, the same generation that's talking to us about accountability are crying about this man not getting in, and he did it to himself. Nobody did that. He did it to himself.
Respect the point. All right, so Tommy. So again, I wanted you on because every week, me and the fellas on the show, we pass around ideas for the show and whatnot. And I saw a picture, and it was of Oakland.
Yeah.
And here you had, since 1960, Oakland was a major. It's a small city. It's one of the smaller markets in sports. You might have to think of like Green Bay to be smaller than Oakland. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like Oakland's got about 400,000 people, 500,000 people, roughly.
Yeah. It's Oakland is tricky. The city is small, but it's the Bay Area is what's encompassed. So you don't just look at the market as Oakland. The market is the Bay Area. So when you look at the actual market, it's not really a small market, because you have
it's like Dallas over here.
Yeah, it's so.
I got you, but I'm making a point with that, because again, for the city, I agree with you. I get the area, but you also have you got majors. You got the 49ers on the other side, which obviously has a lot of sway as well. Yeah. So again, since 1960, you had the Raiders, the AFL expansion team, 3 Super Bowls in the 70s and the 80s. You had the A's, who've been there forever. I think they came in the 50s or something like that. They were Philadelphia, then they went to Kansas City, then they went to Oakland. 3 championships in the 70s, back to back with Reggie Jackson. Then they should have had more in the 88 to 90. They lost 2 out of 3. The one they won, that was the one against San Francisco, the Giants, the Battle by the Bay. And obviously you had the Warriors. And now so you're in a situation where the A's just played their last game in Oakland. So at this point, Oakland, for a 60-year-plus-year period, they're not going to have any professional team in the area. Yes, I mean, we know Golden State is still in the Bay Area, but I wanted to get your perspective, one, on your memories of Oakland sports. You growing up in Oakland, in the area. What was it like when you had the Raiders, when you had Oakland when they were on top, when you had the Bash brothers in the 80s with McGuire and Canseco and whatnot? What was that like for you? And then what do you think the prospect is for the city? Because obviously there's an economic component to this thing, and that's part of why I talk about the small city, because would you agree that some of that is part of why they couldn't stay? Because again, could the city hold them?
No.
Or whatever. So speak on Oakland sports. I'll give you the floor. I just want you to, you can shoot us wherever direction you want.
So to Shawnee's point, when we grew up, baseball was king. Like, we actually came to school with our baseball gloves. Nothing that these kids would even know about. Like, we came to school, one or two people would come with the bats. We used to come with gloves, and when we had recess and lunch, we played baseball. Like, we didn't play football, we didn't play tetherball, we played baseball. We had, if we had enough to get out there, if we didn't, like, we would go out there and play. And the A's was huge. Ricky Henderson is still one of my favorites. Dave Henderson from the town. What I'm saying? We heard the stories. I went alive with Catfish Hunter and them.
And just a note, I still think to this day, I still think they have the coolest uniforms in baseball ever.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That green and the green and gold and white, that's still to me my favorite uniform. Guys in Jersey were rocking Oakland A's jersey, starter jackets and stuff like that. That was just the coolest look back in the day. Yeah.
Yeah, the Raiders and the A's starter jackets was elite. But I actually grew up down the street from the Coliseum. My exit is actually the exit. So my exit where I grew up at is down the street from the airport. So when visiting teams came, they had to drive down my street to get to the stadium and stuff. I used to ride my scooter to the parking lot to go do the tailgating and stuff. So like, everybody sees it with our fan bases. Like, it's near and dear. I mean, A's fans is different than Raider fans, is different than Warrior fans, but the passion is kind of still the same. The A's was more of like a family atmosphere. The Raiders was, we know the Raiders. And to be honest with you, I think kind of some of that is overblown. Because even that was like a family atmosphere, but it was kind of like it's kind of like your family member that's like I don't want to say the outlaw, but like the oddball. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's still love there.
The black sheep.
Yeah, you feel me? Like, and then the Warriors was more kind of because it wasn't Oakland, it was more of a, like, that brought the Bay Area together. Because you had the Giants versus the A's, you had the Niners versus the Raiders, but then when the Warriors came, everybody kind of came together. So it's kind of one of those, all right, I ain't got to argue with you over this game type of deal. The Warriors, they all the way back to when they had, $5 tickets and stuff, and you can go from the top all the way to the bottom because nobody was there at times. It's messed up, but I get it. So what I was going to say to you about, like, that's what everybody's initial thing is to blame Oakland. So Golden State moved, and it was just a business decision. You move your team to San Francisco, and you literally go up a couple of $1 billion in worth. It's just that simple. That's why you don't see as much visceral towards Joe Lacob and them, because they didn't just shit on Oakland when they left. But we kind of understood it. Like, if you literally take a house from Oakland to San Francisco, it automatically goes up in value. That was understood. The Raiders have the poorest owner in the NFL, period, point blank. He essentially wanted to use mostly public money to build a stadium. That was the problem there.
Yeah.
When he went to Vegas, I'm not going to say screw because they agreed to it, but that, if you look at the deal he did in Vegas, it's so shitty it's crazy, because Vegas has literally the worst. I want to say the worst education system in America, and they blamed it because they ain't had no money, but somehow they came up with money to get the Raiders. It's ridiculous. If Oakland had to agree with the deal that they got in Vegas, F the Raiders. Like, no, we got bigger stuff to pay for. The owner of the Las Vegas hockey team out there, he paid for that stadium himself. That's all out of his pocket. Joe Lacob and them, they raised money for that stadium in San Francisco. So we get this owner who wants us to pay for his stadium, and then everybody's looking at Oakland like Oakland did something wrong.
Are you not just talking about the son? You're talking about Al Senior also. Same
No.
mentality.
I'm talking about the son. So Al Davis' situation was different why he left. Al Davis was like a visionary. So when he left the original time to go to LA,
right,
he wanted luxury boxes in the stadium, and they told him no. This is before anybody had luxury boxes. LA said we'd put luxury boxes in the Coliseum. If you look back now, it was a smart decision. Everybody got luxury boxes now.
Right.
So again, it was a business decision. Again, that's why it wasn't looked at the same. If you look at when his son left, it was taken completely different. And the A's is just a mess. Like, we have literally been cussing this owner out for years. He has put no money into this team. The reason why we had Moneyball is because of this cheap ass owner. Every time we get a player that comes good, they're gone because he doesn't want us to pay him. We literally start calling ourselves the New York Yankees farm team because as soon as the player got good enough, he was going to the Yankees, almost guaranteed. That's what we've been living with for, I think he's on the team for 20 years now, something like that, almost 20 years. That's what we've been living with. He's moving the team to Vegas and still doesn't have a financial plan for the move to Vegas. We've had multiple billionaires that wanted to buy the team from him. He won't sell. The only reason why he owns the team is because a dude that went in on him to own the team was friends with the commissioner, or he never even would have owned the team in the first place. Like, it's everything, every plan that he came up with Oakland was shitty. It wasn't complete. I wish I could have sent you that video. I could send you the video of one of our newscasters. He broke it down to a T. Like, it's there's a reason. If you go, y'all can go to right now on any social media, go to any Oakland A's, the official Oakland A's pages. None of them you can leave comments. It's a reason for that. It's a reason. If you go to the last post on the A's comment, on the Facebook page of the A's, the last one where you can comment, I'm on there letting them firing his ass up. John Fisher. Every time I can comment, F John Fisher. Period, point blank. Like, it's and because people from the outside aren't that invested, they don't even know what we've been going through with this dude. So for them, it's just like, wait, Oakland lost all 3 teams? Oh, shitty city, da-da-da. I'm not going to say that Oakland don't got issues as far as like politically and stuff like that. I'll never say that. But when you have the poorest owner in the NFL, and I can tell you stories about his dad because I got friends that knew some of the players where they would go to the bank and 8 checks was bouncing. No bullshit. You know what I'm saying? So we're dealing with that. And then you got this other guy, John Fisher, who's a billionaire, but he's a cheapskate. He doesn't want to spend no money.
How did the city feel like when he sent that sorry letter, that apology letter, before he
Man, hold on.
He said, I tried.
He didn't try shit, bro. Damn. If I send it to you on Instagram, would you be able to play it, Mr. Bennett?
I'm not running the show. I got to check my guy in the back if he could. I would say
like,
send it in a private chat if you can put it up. We'll try to play it. But again, we're kind of nearing the end of the show, so we're gonna have to. Listen. Let's bring you back because this is getting good. You giving some dirt. So if you're available next week to come on, we'll start. We can start the show with you. Start the show. So we're gonna continue this Oakland retrospective because what I'm also interested again the city because again you grew up in that environment with the Raiders with the A's. Now you're gonna have these kids that are going to be growing up in, yes, it's the Bay Area. We get that. But again, it's nothing like that hometown, that local environment that a lot of you guys grew up with. So I'm just wondering, like, what that impact is going to be economically on the city, in terms of revenues or what that, because I know the Raider fan base comes from all over and whatnot. So I just want to get your perspective.
Though, I mean, and you probably gonna see it because we play y'all in a couple of weeks. I'm a truck driver. Why do I understand that if I move my team to Vegas, every visiting team is going to set their, I'm trying not to cuss, their freaking vacation around coming to that football game. So now we play the Cleveland Browns, and it's a shitload of orange and brown in it, and he's wondering why.
Right.
I'm a truck driver, and I can tell you why, you idiot.
Yeah.
I literally got friends that's Browns fans that, hey, we're going to go to Vegas in the Browns game.
Wow.
I mean, just complete idiot.
Wow.
Anybody could have told you that was going to happen.
I got you.
So
Save some of the smoke. This is good. This is part one, ladies and gentlemen, of the Oakland retrospective by Tommy B.
Man.
So we're gonna kick off the show. That's gonna be the title banner for next week's show. We're gonna have that in there before we talk about the Steelers and Cowboys and anything else. I want to keep this fine energy going. But again, I want to thank you again for coming on and sharing, because I knew you keep it weird, real, and 100. And I want to certainly keep it going. So again, we're at the end of the show. Again, thank you to Coach Ferg, to Shawnee, to R. Payne for showing up in the house. We'll see you guys next week. Take care. God bless. See you next time. Be safe.
For sure, yeah.
Yep.
It's going down like a rodeo. It's going down like I told you so. It's going down like a rodeo. It's going down like I told you so. I hope you're all here for the ride. Come inside, cause it's going down tonight. Only here for one night, no lies. Come and saddle up a ride. Need a yeehaw, you know how here for one night and we just wanna party. In a fast car, a Ferrari. It's a push start, I don't need a car key. Slide on Broadway, and it's gnarly. On a late night, but I'm not tardy. Right on time for the parties and Barbies. Strolling with a truck of green like a golf swing. Hey, 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 hey. Bottles on ice, mess around these skates. Hey, hey, hey. If I gotta say it twice, then I got nothing to say. It's going down like a rodeo. It's going down like I told you so. It's going down like a rodeo. It's going down like I told you so. I hope you're all here for the ride. Come inside, cause it's going down tonight. Only here for one night, no lies. Come and saddle up a ride. Come and kiss me up, it's going down. Like a train with no brakes, I'm not slowing down. See us showing up, we're showing out.